everybody, and welcome back to a very special edition of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show. Okay, folks, so if you have seen the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show before, you will know that we usually do an hour-long episode and we talk about one thing in one episode. But where do those conversations go afterwards? Like, again, if you've watched the show, you will know that at the end of every show, I'm like, don't let this be the last conversation you have on this topic. Let it be the first of many. So we're actually going to demonstrate this with a special series that we have over the next 3 days. So this is part one of our first experiment of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Emergent conversations. And our topic for this emergent conversation is AI versus creativity. I'm like super excited for this. Oh, hey, Dan. Dan is joining us. Welcome to the show, my friend. This is something a lot of us have heard, I think. And maybe if we haven't heard it, I feel like there is somewhat a logic pull between like AI and creativity and what is AI doing to human creativity and all of these different things. So these are the arenas that we are going to play for this emergent conversation. And not only are we going to play today for 30 minutes, we're going to play tomorrow for 30 minutes, and we're going to play the next day for 30 minutes, manifesting in this, where do we think this conversation is going on Halloween? So will it be spooky? I don't know. Mike's got the spooky stuff hanging out in the back of his screen. So before we get kicked off in the conversation, Mike, do you want to give everyone a little background of who you are and maybe like the conversations that we had that took us to the place where we're like, we should just like talk about this publicly?
Yeah, well, Tracy, thank you for having me on. And first of all, we've had so many great conversations offline that we're like, we should do more of these online and have people join us. And so, one, I just love how you kind of set the scene. It's AI versus creativity. And I think it makes everybody take a stance on where they are at in that argument. So for me, I've been in digital marketing for about maybe 19 years now. I first started my tech journey when Facebook launched on my campus back in 2000, maybe 2002. And I remember you had to have a university email account to sign up for that. And I kept telling people, MySpace sucks. Facebook is everything because it's real people. You have to get verified. And that's what kind of helped the virality of Facebook grow. And so, yeah, over the years, tech seems to scare me every so often, but AI is something like we've never seen before. And so part of, it's really hard to have a conversation with somebody on the street and say, hey, what are you doing with AI? People look at you like you're stupid. You're like, what? Get away, right? But when you find other people that have that same background, it's really important to build a community. And I think that's what AI, it might be taking us away from, is that community part. And so whether it's online, offline, I talk about being local and you talk about being connected. It's all really the same thing. And so, yeah, I've had 18 years of experience. I've managed over $30 million of paid media ads. Global campaigns for enterprise B2B SaaS companies. So, I tell people, I worked in enterprise B2B SaaS because I'm balding, right? I don't have to tell people, I can show you. So there you go. And now I'm out on my own. I started a short form video system called Signal Caller. Signalcaller.ai is the website. And that really focuses on embedding a short form video system in busy B2B founders and executives' everyday lives so that they can trigger video clips by keywords. All I have to do is say my keyword, which is incredible, right? It's affirmative. It's saying that what I just listened to you say was incredible and should be clip worthy for social media. So I've used it on you a few times in the past. You didn't even know it.
I didn't even know it.
Yeah, but I've got some great clips from our previous conversations, right? So excited to do this online and with other people around too.
Yeah. Okay. So that being said, folks, if you are joining us live, feel free to get into the conversation because this isn't a Tracy and Mike know everything about AI or know everything about creativity. I don't think that is possible destination. This is an opportunity for all of us to get into the conversation on AI, on creativity, where they meet. And you know, Mike, I've heard a lot of this human in the loop. I don't know if you've heard that phrase, but when people are talking about AI, this human in the loop thing, and one of the last, so I have this authentic marketing fellowship that I put together of people who have been on this show. You will be invited next, Mike, because you've been on the show now. But one of the things that came up in our last group conversation was that really this is AI in the loop. Like AI in the loop of the human stuff, or is it human in the loop? So like let's start there for the conversation today. What are your thoughts on this like loop that contains both humans and AI? Where is it now? Where is it going? And what is its relationship with creativity?
You didn't want to start off easy, huh?
No, we don't do easy on the show.
Let's jump in here. Let's cannonball. Okay. Human in the loop. I actually use a human in the loop in my system. And what I use a human in the loop for is quality control. And I think that's what most people use a human in the loop for these days is gut check, is what the AI giving me back past the sniff test, right? And different types of people can be used as a human in the loop, right? So if I've got an AI system that goes off and does account research and prepares it for my sales team, well, I'd probably want somebody to look at that and break down like, okay, here's some really interesting insights that I pulled. Use those. These ones work. These ones are kind of debatable. You could get into more trouble going down that rabbit hole. And then iterating with your AI on like, what is your feedback for it, right? So it can get better. So the human in the loop for me is, it can happen at any point of your system. Typically it's at the beginning or end. Mine sits in the middle so that I don't get too far down the process before the final video edits get sent. So how does that deal with creativity? I think there's different types of creativity really and I'll kind of go back to the definition if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And what I found is creativity is the use of imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of artistic work, right? And what I really focus in on is imagination. Can AI imaginate? No, it can't, because it takes a human brain for imagination. But can AI come up with original ideas? Yes, it can, because it can take inspiration from various sources to come up with that. And one of AI's superpowers is correlation, right? So when I started my short form video system, I was trying to come up with an idea for the name of the company. And I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of like a fly on the wall, right? In your meetings, like, how can I use that to give people a sense of what it does? It's like, okay, if a fly was on my wall and heard my last conversation with Tracy, would it record that and share that to social media? Well, that's a terrible idea for a name, right? So I used ChatGPT and I said, look, I've got an athletic background. I used to play baseball, kind of used some of that inspiration, and it gave me all these, it correlated sports and short form video, which for me is like, sometimes I'm too close to it to even understand. I was able to take a step back and be like, I like that piece. I like this piece. I like that. I love football. I love my Kansas City Chiefs, right? And I'm also a Toronto Blue Jays fan. Shout out to the Blue Jays in the World Series right now. So I might wear my shirt tomorrow if you come back, right?
I was gonna say, I was actually gonna wear my Blue Jays gear today. So if we both agree, we can wear our Blue Jays gear tomorrow.
Done. And the iteration process, right, of how to come up with a name, I was like, well, it's more like a quarterback. If you're a quarterback, all you do is when you give an audible at the line, basically it's a one-word keyword that tells everybody what you're doing. And that's what my system does, right? So I came up with Signal Caller because Signal Caller is also a nickname for a quarterback, right? And so being creative can really happen in many different forms. And I think just giving people the examples and use cases is really important these days so that they can take what I'm doing, what you're doing, and correlate it to themselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I love this. There's one thing I want to say and then a direction I want to take this. So it's interesting to me because I use ChatGPT for lots of things. And one of the things I found it like so helpful in is I coach a U13 fastball team, and I do custom awards for everybody at the end of the season. So your custom award is based on your profile as a player. And so I was like, okay, so first of all, I want alliterative word names. And this is the profile of the person. Give me 10 options for this. And I think there were like 2 players where I had to like really dig into it because I was like, no, this is not right. But it was like so much easier to use AI to help with that. Now, the thing that's interesting about like that example is it's funny because when I think about this, like human in the loop, AI in the loop, like this is it's one loop, right? Like we're all participating in the loop, and there's different parts of the loop that either lead to success or lead to failure. And success and failure is predominantly defined by you as the user, right? Like, did this help you do what you were trying to do? Did this not help you do what you're trying to do? Because it allowed me to like turn on my creativity. It can also be used to turn off creativity. But what I want to like, the direction I want to go here is in that I've done a similar exercise with, I participate in this group called the Collaborative Entrepreneurship Incubator. And every time I say it, I'm like, it's such a mouthful. Like, how can this like be something that is shorter? But like every time I've used AI for it a couple of times, and I'm like, I don't like anything that it's coming up with, right? And this is also where we get to, okay, it's doing stuff, it's generating stuff, and you could take the stuff that it generates, but there's this resonance piece that is, again, if we're going to call it human in the loop, right? Like the resonance is an important piece of the puzzle. And yeah, like keywords is one of the ways that it manifests in what you do, Mike. So let's talk about this, like, let's call it like a resonance pressure check. Right. So like, I'm going to test what you gave to me in terms of like resonance, not just in terms of logic and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like what you gave me makes logical sense, but like a personal resonance with it. So like what comes up for you when I just throw the word resonance out there?
It's great word. And I think words matter today more than ever. Right. And when people say AI, I'm like, well, what kind of AI? Right. So when you say resonance, I automatically go to how relatable it is. Right. What's in it for me kind of stuff. Right. And if I know my audience, hopefully my content resonates with them because it gives them value. Right. And I think that's why social media has blown up so well. And the other thing I would say that really resonates most with me is authenticity, right? And consistency, because those are some really hard ideals to stand up to when there's so much pressure from outside about who you should be, how you should act, what you should do. Being yourself, being able to wear pink headphones on a webcam is more important than conforming to any kind of groupthink. And so what resonates with me is good people doing good things, right? And that's why we've had these great conversations. And, I could say that there's not just you, but your community has offered me support before I went on a speaking event in Little Rock a couple months ago, right? And so there's a lot of value to be shared. And I think the humanity side of the next 10 years is so important. And that's why I probably spend way too much time thinking and planning on how to build community, because it, as much as what technology happens in San Francisco or New York or worldwide, we can't control that.
Right.
What we can control is what's in our backyard, our community, how we show up for our neighbors, right? And that's when creativity and AI can come into play. Is once you learn AI, share it, spread it. Don't hold it back for yourself, right? Because there's so many people that need help, and you can be that person that the community goes to next time they have a problem. So we're all kind of like learning, and there's so many AI releases every month. It's a carousel of who's best. It's just, I've been doing this for 10, 11 years, trying to keep up with, and it's harder than ever before today. And it's just exhausting. And it's like, I'm ready to break. I can't, and I gave up because I stopped chasing that, right? And I really started to focus. Here's the other trick I use for creativity: get rid of the noise. Filter your feeds. Start blocking people that actually you might have followed back in the day, but maybe they don't have a message for you today or whatever. If it's noise and it shows up in your feed, block it, mute it, unfollow, whatever. I think your future is your focus. And creativity, like focused creativity, can really resonate with what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Sorry, I just have to write down your future as your focus, because I feel like it's so simple, but also true, right? And I think AI historically has been a thing that people have gotten caught up in, that chasing mindset, right? Like, I have to chase, I have to be, or even if you are looking at it from the desire is to lead in the space, that you find yourself chasing, because there's so many releases all the time. And now Atlas is live. And then I was like, what is Atlas? And like, they're like, all of these things, there's like always something to chase. I know, like, in the place where we're at in the world, where more online data is created in a day than a human brain can process in a lifetime, it's very easy to chase. There's lots of things to chase. So being able to pull that back and say, like, okay, if I want my future to look like chasing, then I can keep doing these things. But if I want it to look like leading in some capacity, then what do I need to turn off so that I'm not constantly caught up in chasing? And it's interesting that we have the conversation has emerged in this location, because I also think that creativity is a thing that a lot of people chase. I actually was having a conversation with my sister, who she's in school right now. And one of the things that they were talking about was creative blocks, right? So like, why do creative blocks happen? How do people move through creative blocks? And I was like, oh, I have a whole theory on inputs versus outputs. And if our desired output is to be creative, then like, what are the inputs that go into me being creative? Because it's a different input for her, and it's a different input for you, and it's a different input for all of our listeners. And so if we, and now again, like, I feel like this is where like creativity and AI actually have alignment, is that like, how are we actually looking at the inputs for both of these things, our inputs to creativity and our inputs to AI, that may lead to creativity or may not lead to creativity, and like versus the desired output, which is maybe I'm using AI to automate a system. We did an episode a couple of weeks ago on causal AI to understand what's working, what's not working in our marketing. There's a lot of output things that we can use for it, but what are the inputs going into that, so that we know we're getting the outputs that are in alignment with our goals, with our focus, with our intentions, with those types of things. And so I don't know, Mike, I know coming into this episode, you said you had a couple of examples of creative AI. I don't know if this feels like a good time to jump into that, because it might be interesting to look at some examples and then talk about what do we think are the inputs that go into these outputs that actually work.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. Actually, I've been moving recently, so I have my daughter's artwork that I'll show you.
Yeah.
Give you an example. I wanted to touch on. You said caught up chasing AI, right?
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people feel like that right now, and that's exactly what I was going through and devoting so much of my day on research, right? And reading these long AI like summaries that are so technically dense,
Right.
right? It doesn't it's like, hold on, summarize this again for a fifth grader. Summarize this again, put it in 2 sentences, put
Right.
all that research you did so I could just read it in 2 sentences. So I wanted to like kind of give you some insights about how I dealt with that in the past with Google and Google search and
Mhm.
SEO, search engine optimization. Is people used to think that Google updated its algorithms so fast. And they're
Mhm.
like, oh, what's next? Don't get hurt by this big update, right? That's coming because it's gonna block your website and you won't be crawled or indexed anymore. Super melodramatic people. Well, if you know what Google search was, the goal of Google search is to satisfy the searcher's intent.
Mm.
It's very simple, is to have the best UI and UX for the search so that they get to the best answer and find that answer as fast as possible.
Mhm.
And so if you think about that, you can kind of see around the bend. And we think about trains, right? You can kind of see around the bend of where Google is going.
Mhm.
Okay, I need video on a landing page if somebody wants to go to a video and find the answer. I need a PDF if somebody's looking for some kind of form to fill out for whatever they're trying to do. It's like pretty easy, right? It's simple to see that. And I think AI, and this is another thing we talk about, is where is AI going,
Mhm.
right? And where did it start and where is it going? And I think I can lead people down the path of, hey, you got to be careful what you build for today because
Mhm.
an AI update tomorrow could wipe everything out.
Yeah.
Right. And so in 5 years, we used to do enterprise B2B. We used to do like 5 and 10 year planning. Like that stuff is so gone and so archaic in the next 12 months.
Right.
Right. So how do you move big organizations quickly? It's really, really difficult. And that's
Mhm.
when you start losing hair. Okay, let me go back and get my daughter's picture.
Also, folks, while we're waiting for the picture, we'll
Okay.
likely talk more about where AI is going tomorrow. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Come back.
Okay. So here's a little example of what my daughter drew at school or her artwork. And I'll
Mhm.
tell you, I said, Callie, explain to me what that is. And she goes, Dad, this is you and me. We're walking on the beach,
Mm.
and that's a beautiful sunset and a big mountain. We're in Hawaii, and there's a hotel down here where we're
Mhm.
staying, and it's right on the beach. And I said, okay, that's incredible. And now I'll share my screen and give you a little bit of that background, hopefully. Um, and actually, I pulled a different chat. Silly me. Maybe we'll have to come back next tomorrow
We'll
to
bring
see
that one
my
back
daughter's
tomorrow. More
creativity.
examples tomorrow.
Okay, let me go to a different
So let's
example.
talk about your daughter's example, though, in terms of like the inputs for that. Because, like, first of all, one of the things I love about kid art is that like no one's looks the same, right? Like even if the assignment was to paint a vacation, right? Which it maybe sounds like it was. Like, first of all, everybody's got a different vacation. Everybody sees mountains differently. Like, I love the pink background, and I was like, oh, this totally matches with my headphones. um, but like the input and how you see it, that like authentic input, is really what makes that unique. So, like, I'd love to hear what else you would care to share on that. And then I think this will be where we end for today. And then we'll pick it up again tomorrow.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, what I think is happening, and excuse me for not having that ready on the other screen there. what I think's happening is people equate AI similarly to how they see social media. And they're like, oh, it's inherently bad. How they see phones, mobile phones. Keep kids away. Kids shouldn't use this. Don't, shelter our kids. Whereas you got China, who's mandating AI classes for 6-year-olds, right? And we talk a lot of it. You hear a lot of people say you won't be replaced by AI. You'll be replaced by someone using AI. And I agree with that for the most part. But what I want to speak about for AI and creativity is my two biggest strengths for understanding and getting the most out of AI is creativity and grit. Right. And I say grit because sometimes it takes that iteration. It takes the intentional work. Is you can't expect AI to do it all for you and make it perfect. It might get you 90% of the way there. It might get you 70% of the way there, but it'll do that so exponentially faster than going off alone. And so what I try to teach kids is supervised AI, right? And how do we use their creativity and because kids have incredible grit. They're like more, right? And if I would have recorded my daughter's eyes when ChatGPT finished rendering her painting as a realistic image, her eyes, I've never seen them pop out of her face so much. And she went directly back to her craft station. It was like, I've got another painting. I'm going to do another one. I was like, wow, like just giving them a little taste of what can happen. And when I showed it to her, she's like, Dad, that's exactly what I was thinking. Right. And so kids have creativity and grit in spades. Somewhere along the line that fades for a lot of people. But it's part of getting sleep, make sure you're eating, making sure you've got time and space in your work day, or however you become creative, because back in baseball, it's like being in the zone, right? I'm in the zone when I'm playing on the field, and my parents weren't allowed to sit behind home plate. We're in the field of view from second base. I said, you guys can sit anywhere, but that space, and you're not allowed to whistle, Mom, because I know your whistle, right? So it breaks that zone. And part of being creative is getting into that space and having the time and space to do it, whether it's you get creative in the shower, during workouts, walks. It's finding what that is and being able to replicate it.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things, and I know we both guessed that this was the direction that we would end up going, is that this really isn't a conversation about AI versus creativity. And maybe it'll come up. You guys didn't share any of your thoughts in the chat today, so maybe come back and share some more in the chat tomorrow, because I love that example with your daughter, right? She created purely from human creativity, and then it was run through AI, and then it inspired her to create more. And I think that that's a really powerful thing, a powerful opportunity with AI, is that when we can use it in its automation arenas to take stuff off of our plate that doesn't allow us to be inspired. We create the space for that type of inspiration to happen. But that only happens if we do it intentionally. And so if we come into this conversation as the more I lean into AI, the less creative I'm going to be, that will probably manifest for you. And there's an equal opportunity to say, how can I, with intention, look at both of these things and get more in my life, more space, more time, more whatever it is that you are looking to get more of. So with that, folks, I know it feels like a cliffhanger because it's not really a cliffhanger. We're coming back tomorrow to continue the conversation. So Dan, thank you for joining us live. If you were also joining us live and you did not know, let us know that you were here. Please come back tomorrow. We are at a different time tomorrow. So just how our calendars worked out. There's an hour and 30-minute time adjustment every day. We get later in the day. So come back, get into the conversation. If you're watching us on LinkedIn, or if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you're watching us on Facebook, you should be able to find the event for tomorrow and check the time to make sure you are joining us at the right time. Also, if you're watching on the replay for today, come back, join us in the conversation tomorrow, or feel free to play. That was like place and plop and pop, and it turned into plop. Plop your comments in the chat, and we can also come back to those. We can take a look at the ones from today and incorporate them into the conversation for tomorrow or for Friday. So Mike, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Everyone who joined us today, thank you so much. And well, I feel like I said we'll see you tomorrow enough times, but we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.